Hi guys, welcome back to Clinical Trial Talk. I'm Luke,
I'm Gabriel.
and today we're going to be speaking about how to find clinical trials, or how to be more aware, or where to go in order to find out more about where a trial might be that you might be interested in.
Yeah, last time we kind of described a little bit about what clinical trials are and how they might be helpful to you, or potentially not. But so this time we think it'd be nice to talk about where can you actually go to find one.
That's right. So I might just let's just what your first point of call is, and it depends what you're looking for. Sometimes we get hit up about for some people want to be involved in healthy volunteer studies, which basically means you don't have to have a specific medical condition. In fact, quite the opposite. In order to be on a trial, you've got to be a healthy volunteer. Other times people ask us about very specific illnesses that they're seeking some other kind of option, and they're seeing a clinical trial that's almost like a new hope or a new treatment option, really. And so even if there might be a placebo component involved in the trial. And so probably the first point of call I would suggest to go to for people in Australia and New Zealand, or even anywhere in the world, really, because there's a big one. It would be a registry. Now, there's government registries. So Australia, New Zealand, you've got to check out the anzctr.org.au, I believe.
I'm not sure. I think if you type in Google Clinical Trial Registry Australia or ANZ Clinical Trial Registry, you should be able to find it.
Yeah, anzctr.org.au. So I'll pop that into the comments on this particular video. But that's probably where I'd go first, where it says search now. It says that the website's not secure at the moment. Well, they might need to update their certificates. But look...
so when you say registry, what exactly do you mean?
What it is, it's not necessarily all the trials happening in the world. ANZCTR also pulls from another registry, which is the US one, called clinicaltrials.gov, G-O-V, and it will pull information from there as well. There's also the World Health Organization has another registry which tries to pull in similar registries from around the world.
So I think if you're running a clinical trial, you have to be on a registry. Is that right?
You don't have to be. There's more and more of a push to have clinical trials that are occurring to be transparent with the public in terms of what's going on. Now, registries were set up in order to do that and to help to let other people know what other research was going on in different areas, really these registries haven't been prepared for public consumption as such. It's not written in layman's terms. It's written really in scientific mannerisms for other researchers to identify where studies might be going on, what sort of endpoints or things that different studies are looking for. And so
basically you're going to find a whole lot more information than just where to go to sign up for the trial. There's a lot of information there. So like you were saying, it's not necessarily for the public, but that doesn't mean that the public, like you guys, can't use it. So you definitely can.
Well, I mean, in terms of some people's rare diseases, things like that, often patients will be very informed about their illness and people have a very strong understanding. And in some cases, people and patients know more about what research is going on in their area, even beyond their own doctor's understanding, because they've done the extra research or they are aware. So the point of this is if you are interested, and you should be, to keep an eye on the registries, but not necessarily get bamboozled by all of there might be some information there that might be too much. If you're not sure about some of the information there, I mean, it might be worthwhile to print some of that off or ask your GP or your doctor about that, or your specialist, and say, what do you think of that one? So probably the first point of call, if I want to find out about what trials are going on, is hit the registries.
I agree.
And so part of the rationale for having a study on a registry, why companies and researchers are doing that, is because in order for them to publish their data in some high-level journals, they need to have shown that they've presented to the public or put in the public domain what they're researching. And if they haven't done that, or they do it retrospectively, they're not as favoured as they are others that have said, this is what I'm going to research before they start. and then put some information about their results on there too, which is
Mm.
another big topic, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, the publishing of data.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regarding the doctors, even though potentially someone who's suffering an illness may know more than their doctor, if you are going to some kind of medical specialist that is attached to a clinic that does clinical trials, then they could be aware of trials that they're running that you might not know of, they might have just started, or might not be widely known. So definitely, I think asking your medical specialist if they know of any clinical trials relevant to your particular illness or healthy studies is another option.
That's the other thing. When you're on those registries, it'll say if the study is recruiting, which means it's open for enrolment of patients. Often studies are struggling to find patients to be on clinical trials. So if your specialist isn't involved in trials, maybe you could suggest, hey, why don't we find out about that particular trial? Because some studies take a lot longer than they should. They cost a lot more money and effort than they should because they can't find patients. And if there's not one in your area, there's a possibility that if your doctor wants to be involved in the trial, they might be able to put their hand up and go through the process of becoming an activated trial site. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's probably taking a bit further than we probably were going to. But yeah, registries, I'd say number one go-to.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, I mean, that's probably what I'd divert to. But I think the first point of call is what you were saying, which was the doctor. So your doctor,
it really depends on the area, though.
A lot of doctors don't know about trials.
Yeah.
That's a massive problem. Some do, but some really don't. And I'm just trying to think back my own experience going to doctors, and often it's just like a side thing that is just like, yeah, that's of interest, but don't really know. They don't always even know about the registries. Okay? So don't be surprised if your doctor doesn't know about that. But I'd probably say straight up, talk to your doctor straight away about it and say, do you know about trials? You can drop the point about the registries, okay, if they don't know about them, and then sort of help to encourage them to be thinking about it. Because the more people that are asking doctors about clinical trials, I think that can be a good thing to raise awareness about what sort of research is going on.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
So I guess apart from doctors and registries, you can contact trial sites. So these are the guys that are running the clinical trials. They're who you'd go to in person, and they'd be doing tests and telling you about what's going on.
How do you know who's a trial site? That's the next thing, right? How do you know if your clinic that you're going to is an actual trial site and participating?
Right.
I suppose on registries you'll see that there is a list of locations, usually, not always. Some companies like to keep it private and will only say, it was in Sydney or it was in Melbourne or Auckland.
But not necessarily say where specifically.
Yeah, or not even say the hospital name or anything like that.
Okay.
So,
but if you want to know about trial sites in your particular area, that going to studies doesn't really help in that sense. So, is there a way to find trial sites by location?
Well, you can through AustralianClinicalTrials.com to a point. Not all the trial sites are on there yet. NewZealandClinicalTrials.com is what we're working on. But probably I'd hit the registry first, because even if they don't say the exact location of the trial sites, there's usually a contact there. In fact, I think that's part of it. They need to have a contact. You might not get a reply. It might be the sponsor company or the company, or it might even be a research institute that's been funded, or some grant funding or something like that to do the research, and they're probably a good go-to to say, hey, where are the locations based?
Yeah,
Can you put me in touch? I'm based here, I want to know more about it. Who do I go to?
So either the people running the trials or the people funding the trials are going to know where it's happening.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think we were talking about this last week or the week before, which was about informed consent information sheets on the actual study, which are written to be able to be understood by normal people like us, okay, or just people not in scientific lingo, should I say? So I'd probably hit up the doctors or the people that are the contacts on the registries, and literally say, hey guys, I'm interested in the study. can you put me in touch with the trial site? As soon as you get the trial site, guys, can you send me more information about the study? I'm going to come and see you and find out more.
Either this study or similar studies.
Yeah, because you might not want to be on that study, but you can find out sooner by having a look at what the project's about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think another good place to potentially reach out to are support groups. So either an illness-specific support group or some kind of group on social media. So, for example, Cancer Council is a huge one, right?
It can be good. It depends who you're going to speak with.
Right,
some people are going to be right across it. If you get the right person, then that's great. Sometimes those groups will be running their own grant-funded studies, and that's what they'll be focusing on. They don't necessarily they're not necessarily familiar with all the other studies going on in that area.
Yes. Yeah.
It really depends.
Yeah.
Interested to know your experience though, because you know, I think it really depends on who you speak with. I mean, if you speak with one group, they might be all focused on one particular project, and that's what they'll tell you about. And I'll say that's all that's happening here. And it's like, okay, but if you've gone to the registry beforehand, you'll have a bit more of a handle on what other areas are being looked at.
Exactly.
If there's any other specific doctors or contacts or companies, hit the company up direct. Companies don't necessarily like to be hit up direct, but some companies have taken a good, have embraced it and actually have
like a public inquiry sort of.
Yeah, like a triage even for like if you're involved in a study, find out more, and they've got a nice process to deal with it. Because like in terms of contacting potential people that could be on their study, it's a bit of it can be a controversial topic. So working in trials, everything has to be done properly and not in a way that's considered to be coercive in any way. And so people are very shy about necessarily talking to potential volunteers about their project that aren't the actual trial sites that have been set up to run a study.
The sponsors typically don't want to know the individual details of who's actually gone on to a trial. They just kind of want to know aggregate results so that your privacy is protected.
Yeah. And that's important to think about as well as you're contacting people.
Absolutely.
I think the most important point is to be an expert in whatever it is you're interested in. If you really want to be a healthy volunteer on studies, or be like, you know, and healthy volunteers sometimes are the very first people in the world to ever try a particular product at a particular dose. So it's pretty out there stuff. You know, you can get on databases of phase 1 units to see what studies they're running. Don't be gung-ho about it. Read the information.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Do your research before you get into it.
Definitely. And if you've got a certain illness, you should try to become as familiar with what sort of research is happening in that area, because in doing so, you can become a patient advocate or a person that can... You might end up getting a wealth of knowledge that then you can help other people out down the track, or even go and talk to some of the support groups in your area and tell them, this is what I've found.
I think that's a really good idea for another video.
We could do that. So, are you a patient advocate? Are you looking at this video? Or let us know how you came across the video for one, and let us know your thoughts, because the point of this channel and what we're talking about this page is to talk more about trials in the public domain, and work out how we can help people and educate people, possibly to an extent as well, on what to be aware of and careful of and things like that.
Exactly.
You know. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, thanks for your time, and hit like and subscribe, and don't be a stranger. Let us know you're there.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Guys. Bye.